Hola a todos, mi nombre es Mike, y esto es The Bored Cyborg. Welcome back to yet another episode of What's in the Bag, which is sort of my version of the movie pickup video, where I go over all of the movies on DVD and Blu-ray and some games and maybe some books that I've picked up over the last couple of months and talk about each and every one and why it's now in the collection. Now, I want to say a little behind-the-scenes information here. I have stacks of movies that build up over time that I want to show you guys. But there's only so much time that I have. Now, I haven't gone out shopping for movies since the pandemic got serious in, early March, I want to say, or even February. I haven't hunted in over a month, and it's killing me, but it's for all of our safety. So I want you all to know these were acquired months ago. And so I know it's a little behind the scenes. These were acquired months ago. Anyway, without further ado, let's get into what I've picked up. I'd love to know what you guys have picked up, maybe online over the last couple months. Hell, even if it's something from when you were shopping, we were able to go out and shop. I'd love to know what you guys have been picking up, so feel free to leave that down in the comment below. That'd be neat. Let's get right into it. The first one's up. I'm going to show both of these. I actually got these at the bookshop a couple months ago now, and that is the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles series from the 2010s? I don't know exactly when it started, but as a Turtles fan, I feel like I owe it to myself to at least give this series a try. And I don't know, now these aren't the beginning of the series, but this one has Monsters vs. Mutants, which I thought sounded cool. It's like a whole bunch of classic monsters and stuff that the Turtles are fighting. So I was like, sign me up. Classic monsters plus TMNT, I am in. I want to ask you guys, how do you like this show? If you're a big Turtles fan like I am, like OG Turtles, the video games, the movies, that sort of thing. I haven't read the comics. But if you're a fan, let me know how these hold up for adults. I know they're going to be more geared towards children. It's a Nickelodeon show. I get that. But that doesn't mean it can't cater to adults as well. Let me know down in the comments how you guys feel about the show and if you think I'll enjoy it. I want to dig into it at some point. Next up, Garden of the Dead. This, just before we closed, I actually snagged this from the bookshop. Garden of the Dead Zombie Collection. We've got Garden of the Dead, Butt Crack, and Unspeakable. Now, I actually picked this up for Butt Crack. I picked it up because it's a trauma triple feature and I want it. But Butt Crack is actually one that I've heard of. It's some ridiculous low-budget movie about people turning into zombies when they look at a certain person's butt crack. Yes, it is trauma. I'm anticipating this being a crazy set of movies. Cool thing about Butt Crack, it's got Mojo Nixon, featuring the music of Mojo Nixon, which is sort of a post-punk band, and it's starring the lead guy from Mojo Nixon. You'd know him if you've seen the Super Mario Brothers movie, actually. A little bit of trivia. He's the guy, he plays Toad. He's playing the guitar and singing about King Koopa. All because of the evil King Koopa. He's the one strumming the guitar and playing. That is Mojo Nixon. So a little tie in there. Either way, I'm looking forward to digging into this set. Lloyd Kaufman didn't direct any of these. These are just the ones that he funded or helped bring to light, help produce. So I'm looking forward to checking out this Garden of the Dead zombie trilogy. Another weird one I got from the bookshop around the same time. I think the same weirdo brought these in, and they went home with this weirdo. That is Candy Stripper? Wait. Oh, okay. I'm f***ed up, because I thought up to this point that said Candy Strippers. Is it supposed to say Candy Strippers? It says Candy Stripers. Okay, whatever. They're wearing pinstripe suits. Maybe Candy Stripers. Okay. Either way, this has Candy Stripers, I guess, and She Creature, which is a Stan Winston production movie, She Creature, by the way. And it's a sort of reimagining of an old Corman film, I want to say. Pretty sure. Either way, I haven't seen either of these, but I picked it up because they look like some fun late 90s, early 2000s era horror flicks, horror comedies, more so. And I don't know about the directors. Let's see, Kate Robbins, cool. And Sebastian Gutierrez. I know that name. I'm sure he's done something I've seen. Either way, that is Candy Stripers. I thought it was Strippers. And She Creature. Jeez, I'm looking forward to checking these out. Next up is almost the definition of cult classic, and that is Helter Skelter. I gotta be honest, I know this movie has something to do with Charles Manson. Other than that, I have no fucking clue. Is this a documentary? Is this a horror flick? Is this like a cult horror flick from the 70s? I don't know, but I'm looking forward to checking this out. It's directed by Tom Grice, a name that I do recognize. So, Helter Skelter. Next up, the Hong Kong Infernal Affairs. Of course, the original of this trilogy, I believe it is. Infernal Affairs would go on to influence The Departed. Scorsese would adapt Infernal Affairs into The Departed to Americanize it. Both films are superior, in my opinion. I've not seen the sequels to Infernal Affairs. I think this is a prequel, actually, which would be interesting, shedding some light on some of the characters from the original film, which is excellent. I'm looking forward to checking this out. That is Infernal Affairs 2. Next up, The Mind's Eye. One of my subscribers actually recommended this recently, but he or she recommended it after I had already picked it up at the bookshop, which I thought was ironic. So I haven't checked this out yet, but I'm looking forward to doing so. And the reason why I picked this up was because I had heard that this is a better rendition of Scanners. And I like Scanners, one of, Cronenberg's Scanners, but I do think it's lower tier Cronenberg. It's a fun movie, don't get me wrong, but if they take that concept and do it even better, I'm all for it. So we'll see. The Mind's Eye, I'm looking forward to checking this one out. It's got some killer artwork there. I really love the artwork, and I think it is, it is reversible. That's always cool, and it's got a sticker. I'm going to get that bad boy off. Anyway, that is The Mind's Eye. Next up, another one I haven't seen, which is great. I mean, this is why I picked these movies up, right? Because I want to see them. This is a disaster film from the late 70s called Meteor, starring Sean Connery, directed by Ronald Neame. Okay, cool. I know the name. Sean Connery, Natalie Wood, 1979 disaster flick. So this is really towards the tail end of the disaster craze of the early to late 70s, I'd say, because a year after this film, we'd get, of course, Airplane, which just eviscerated all of these sorts of films, and studios didn't want to make them anymore, which is funny. But Meteor is one I haven't seen, I gotta be honest, so I have to check this out at some point. Very cool to find this. It was at a pawn shop a few months ago, and it was like 50 cents, so I was like, I'll take it. I don't know if it's on Blu-ray. Next up, speaking of Blu-ray, getting to the Blu-rays now, Bye Bye Man. Picked this up at the bookshop for $1.50 or something, and I have heard nothing but awful, awful, awful things about this movie. So I'm looking forward to checking it out and forming my own opinion on it. That is The Bye Bye Man. Next up, I sold off my DVDs a couple months back and picked up Mommy 1 and 2 in this concise Blu-ray set. This has always been sort of touted as... So it's Patty McCormick who played the original Bad Seed, the little girl in the Bad Seed, and it's almost as if she's grown up and has become a mother. So I've not seen either of these films. They're from the early and mid-90s, and I picked it up because I was able to sell my DVDs for a good amount of money, and this wasn't very expensive. So I think I actually made a couple bucks off of that transaction. That is Mommy 1 and 2. This was released by... VCI. Okay, VCI. They do great work. So thank you, VCI, for this release. Looking forward to checking these movies out at some point. Next up, I gotta get the stickers and crap off of this, but I finally picked up Tomb Raider on Blu-ray. Still amassing my video game movie collection. I want them all, to be quite honest, and I want to do a video on them. That would be so much fun. Tomb Raider I saw in theaters back in 2001. And I really liked it. I was a fan of the games, and the movie delivered what it set out to deliver. And I really liked Angelina Jolie as our lead character. I felt like she was perfect, really, as Lara Croft, or at least the Lara Croft that we knew from the 90s. Lara Croft has been reinvented now, which is great. Reinvented for the times. And I've yet to play any of those games, or see the movie for that matter. But this is sort of the Tomb Raider that I grew up with, right? So, fun movie, fun action. Doesn't take itself seriously. It's got an Indiana Jones sort of vibe with really over-the-top action sequences, and it's fun. Angelina Jolie should be more talked about for her action movies that she did. She's really one of the better action heroes from this era, late 90s, early mid 2000s. So I got to check out Tomb Raider again, and I want to pick up the sequel, which is Cradle of Life. So that is Tomb Raider, directed by Simon West. Another mainstream horror film that got nothing but bad reviews was Wish Upon. This seems like a Final Destination ripoff, which I'm okay with if done right. This is, man, what's his name? Leonetti. The director is Leonetti. I forget his first name. But he directed Mortal Kombat Annihilation, which I talked about recently in video game adaptations from the 90s. Leonetti would direct one of the worst films ever in Mortal Kombat Annihilation, but fun. And then he would get his chance with Annabelle and Wish Upon. John Leonetti is his name. All right, I thought it was James. John Leonetti. But I've heard pretty bad things about this one. It's a horror movie. Got it for $1 on Blu-ray. I'm going to add it to the collection, watch it. If I don't deem it worthy, it's gone. But for now, I'm going to give it a shot. Wish Upon. Next one up I got at the store. I've actually not seen David Finch's Girl with the Dragon Tattoo film, but I have seen the Swedish trilogy. This one I'm looking forward to watching, to be quite honest. I hear it's more action heavy. I've not heard many great things about it. However, Claire Foy is in this movie. It's directed by Fede, that's right, Fede Alvarez, who did, in my opinion, the lackluster Evil Dead remake. I know it's an unpopular opinion. Wasn't for me. I didn't feel that movie. But his next film after Evil Dead I did enjoy quite a bit. Don't Breathe. I did think it was sort of a rip off of People Under the Stairs, but it went its own direction, and I felt like it was a pretty solid film. This is his third Hollywood film, so I'm looking forward to checking it out, giving him his fair chance. So that is The Girl in the Spider's Web. The Legend of Tarzan. Just a bunch of these blockbuster movies from the last few years that have rolled into the bookstore that I've picked up for so cheap. The Legend of Tarzan. Sam Jack, one of the Skarsgård, Alexander Skarsgård plays Tarzan. Yeah, man, it's a Tarzan movie. I'm looking forward to checking this one out. I've heard it has good motion capture, a good adventure, solid adventure story to it, so I'm looking forward to checking out The Legend of Tarzan. Next up, Chronicle, a found footage superhero movie, really superhero origin movie that is very reminiscent of Akira in a lot of ways. I felt like this had serious Akira vibes going into it while I was watching it. But it follows a group of kids, led by Dane DeHaan. Michael B. Jordan's in this one too, who find some sort of crashed entity or stone or something, I believe. And I could be mixing this up with the Power Rangers introduction, like how they find their powers in the reboot. I conflate those two. But they find this thing that basically grants the main character, Dane DeHaan's character, superhuman powers. He's able to fly and manipulate objects, and the more it goes on, the better he gets at it, and the more power hungry he gets. So it's a very Akira in that sense. It's a really awesome found footage idea, and it's executed really, really well. For people that don't like found footage films, I always sort of recommend this one first. I'm like, hey, check out Chronicle. You might dig the narrative that they're going for here. It's got more of a story than a lot of found footage films have. So check out Chronicle. It's a solid movie, and I'm glad to add it to the collection. Harley Davidson and the Marlboro Man. That's right. This is a really fun early 90s flick with Mickey Rourke and Don Johnson. It's got very light sci-fi elements. It's got a corporate espionage, William Gibson sort of feel, but very subtle. It's not overt at all. This is just a fun sort of buddy movie with the two of them. They're sort of bikers, in a biker gang and all that. And they find an opportunity to like rob from these corrupt bankers, sort of set up a heist. And it's really more of an adventure action flick. It has some cool action sequences in it, but it's really more of a buddy flick, buddy comedy sort of thing between the two of them, which have great chemistry, by the way. Rourke and Johnson do. So check out Harley Davidson and the Marlboro Man. This is a film I finally upgraded to Blu-ray. I've had the DVD since the 90s or early 2000s. My father was a huge fan of this movie, so he passed that love down to me. So gotta check out the Blu-ray here, which I believe was Scream Factory. Yeah, Shout Factory released this one, so very cool. Next up, I finally picked up a copy of It. I did really enjoy this movie, definitely more so than the original miniseries that I'm super nostalgic for, and that series messed me up as a kid. But watching it as an adult, it's not great. It's not bad. It's just I don't know. It's paced a little off. It's a little plotting, and I don't know. It's okay. It's not bad. But this really brings the story into full color, I'll say, with a supremely creepy Pennywise. Now, my review of the performances between Tim Curry and the other Skarsgård, Bill Skarsgård, you can't compare them. I mean, the way I say it is Bill Skarsgård ain't no Tim Curry, but Tim Curry ain't no Bill Skarsgård. They're two completely different sort of characters. The one criticism that I have about Skarsgård's Pennywise is he doesn't have as much fun, as many hijinks. You know, he's not pulling pranks and laughing. He's just creepy the whole way through. Whereas Tim Curry's character has moments where you're like, oh, it's a fun clown. And then he has this gaping jaw with these giant teeth. And I think it loses something because when you're enticing kids, you want to be like, hey, kids, come, look, I've got balloons. And then, you know, but this interpretation of Pennywise isn't really that. But I love what it is. The chemistry between the child cast is phenomenal. Some legitimately great sequences like the bathroom scene. You know what I'm talking about. I need to see It Chapter 2 to sort of round out the story here. But I really loved what the guy who did Mama did with the reimagining of It. His name is Andy Muschietti. I liked Mama, but I had problems with it. It was definitely a step up. Check it out if you haven't seen it. Alright, I've got a couple games and a couple books to round things out. First up is Fist of the North Star, Ken's Rage. A Fist of the North Star video game. I don't know if you guys know Fist of the North Star from the 80s. It was a manga that was made into a Japanese TV show, anime, and then it was made into a film, Fist of the North Star, where it compiled the first season, I think the whole first season, into one movie, which is phenomenal. Honestly, if you haven't seen Fist of the North Star, watch the movie from 86 or 85 or something. It's phenomenal. It's excellent. Watch the dub, watch it in Japanese, whatever. Just watch it. And then later on, America would have a version of Fist of the North Star starring Gary Daniels. It's fun. It's not great, but it's a fun movie. This is the PS3 video game of Fist of the North Star. I've heard it's a fun beat 'em up, super violent, like the show is. And yeah, PS3, Fist of the North Star. I got this for like $1 or $2 at a pawn shop a couple months back. So, very cool. Next up, I want to shout out my buddy Colton. He saw that I picked up this empty case from where was it? Habitat for Humanity Restore a few months back in a PS3 haul I picked up. And this was the only one that didn't have the disc in it. And out of the kindness of his own heart, he sent me the disc so that I could play this game, which I'm really looking forward to doing with my brother. It's a co-op campaign mode, as far as I understand. So thank you, Colton. I really, really appreciate it. Can't tell you how awesome that is to me to complete this game here. So now it is complete thanks to you. And that is Mercenaries 2. I remember playing the first Mercenaries back in the day. It was a fun third-person shooter. But I am looking forward to sitting down and playing this co-op. So that is Mercenaries 2. Next up, we've got Star Wars Omnibus. This is Volume 3. I love these omnibuses that Dark Horse put out. I've got the Predator one. I've got the Aliens one. I've got the Terminator one. And now I have the Star Wars one. Again, picked this up from the bookshop for a few bucks. Very cool. And it's just my sort of thing. Just my sort of artwork. You know, I'll try to showcase it a little bit here. And the cool thing about these omnibuses, each story is, usually each story here is going to be by a different writer or colorist or artist. So each one has a sort of different feel to it. Actually, these all look very similar. Maybe these were done by the same guys. I guess I'm more so talking about the Terminator ones that have, or the Alien ones that have very unique artist interpretations. Each one feels different. And I really dig that about these omnibuses. I'm hoping this one's similar, even though the art, just a quick breeze through, looks very similar. Either way, I'm looking forward to checking this one out. That is Star Wars, the Omnibus Volume 3. And last but not least, I actually picked this up months ago. I'm embarrassed to admit, around October time. Just hadn't had an opportunity to show it off. That is Chamber of Chills, Harvey Horrors. These are, the era of the old EC comics and stuff like that, Tales from the Crypt, which I'd love to own a lot of that stuff. So this was the first one that I've collected. And it is a collection of a whole bunch of different books, like Thrills of Tomorrow, Witch's Tales, Black Cat. So a whole bunch of different books, whole bunch of different stories from those books. And I love this. This is like, late 60s, early 70s artwork here, which is just wonderful. I love this stuff, and these stories, believe it or not, some of these stories are really gruesome and fucked up, which is great. And that's why they were so controversial for the time. I think EC started in the 50s, but I want to say this one is from, the 60s and 70s. Could be wrong. Either way, that is The Chamber of Chills, which I will bust this out next October and sort of light a candle and read a few of these bad boys. It should be fun. I just want to thank you guys for checking out my latest episode of What's in the Bag. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'd love to know what you guys have picked up over the last couple months, so feel free to leave that down in the comments below, and we'll get a little discussion rolling as usual. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to give it a thumbs up, and if you're new to the channel and want to see more videos like it, feel free to hit the subscribe button as well as the little bell for notifications. Anyway, guys, I will see you next time. Bored Cyborg out.